ordained to be there at that particular time. God has called many of us to leave particular ministries. God has called us to move out, but what we want to do is we want to stay there because mama is there, our grandmother went there, our great-great-great-grandma helped build the church and establish the church back in 1868. But that's not what God is saying. God is saying, I cannot allow you to sow into bad ground anymore, because we'll give them our money, we'll sow in our time and say, well, let me go do this at church or let me go do that. But God does not honor that because he has separated us from that particular flock that's not meeting our needs, and he has placed us somewhere else. But if we don't be obedient to the, see, it's all about being obedient. In order for us to come into the full manifestation of his promises and to be a master money demonstrator, we have to be obedient to God. So I want to talk about who you choose to serve matters. Who you choose to serve, who you choose to honor as your man or your woman of God, it matters. The reason why it matters is because that person, that particular prophet, has what's basically in his mouth. He has that the command to bring about your blessing. That's just like when we talked about Numbers chapter 6. Now, if that person is not ordained to speak a blessing over your life, you can say Numbers chapter 6 all day long, and you won't command no blessings to come forward. But you have to understand, when God sends you to a particular house and he plants you there, it ain't, sometimes you're not going to understand it. Sometimes it's going to be unusual. Sometimes you're going to say, you know, why would God, I'm old enough to be overseer's mama. I'm old enough to be his grandma. You know, why can't God send me to somebody that's you know, that's even greater or that's older or something like that? But God knows what he's doing. And so you got to understand now, this is the way I look at it. I can't be submitted to somebody that don't have more than me. That's the way I look at it. If my pastor is catching a bus to church, then I know for a fact that ain't where I need to be. Because one thing about that I was always taught, you never outdo your pastor. So if your pastor, now listen to this, if your pastor is a millionaire, then guess what? You automatically is ushered into that millionaire status, even because of your pastor. Why? Because he's the shepherd of your soul. He's the head of the church. And see, that's why I want to be, that's why we got to really be careful about even who we submit ourselves to as a ministry or who we sow into. Because I don't want to sow into fertile ground, because if I'm just throwing my seed away on thorny ground. But that's why we have to really be careful about who God allows us to connect with. That's why we got to be prayerful and say, okay, God, you know, where do you want us to go? Now, I really believe that God in this day and age have raised me up to be an apostle, to be a bishop, or you know, I'm not caught up on titles or anything, but I know I'm good ground to sow into. Hallelujah. I know if you sow into my life, you going to reap a harvest. You will reap a harvest. I can guarantee you. And I tell anybody, try to sow into my life. Just try. Just put $10 in my hand and watch God make some doors come open, some windows come open that you couldn't even dream about. All because you decided to sow into the prophet's life. And now, because you have sown into my life, now I have the authority to speak a blessing over you. So therefore, I want to talk to you today. Another thing I want to talk about is how to properly care for your pastor. How to properly sow into your pastor's life. Now, some people may say, you know, pastor got a BMW, so he don't need my help. That may be true. I may not need your money. But I do realize how to get a blessing to you, how to get you into your millionaire status.